First thing I want to do is talk to you about listening, how important listening is. As you write that report, you want to make sure you're looking at the person who you're speaking to, okay? And they speaking to you. You are the person of authority. No matter what, you're either going to be a police officer, corrections officer, some person of authority, parole, probation, all of you in this class for different reasons. And so you're that person who is in charge. Look at the person who's speaking to you. Don't interrupt them. Be very mindful. And also be aware of your nonverbal communication. What I mean by nonverbal is rolling your eyes, tilting your head, looking like very doubtful. Be very, very careful of those nonverbal communications. What you want to do is concentrate. Concentrate on what the person is saying to you. Really focus on that. And I always use the term CPR. Display courtesy, professionalism, and respect. That's very important as a person of authority, as a person who's writing a report. Take the time to listen. Be very, very, very cooperative and open. Always ask questions. It's important that you ask questions to the person. Sometimes that shows that you are listening. If you just sit there like a robot and give a little interaction, and that interaction is ask the person. View the person that had it say something worthwhile. You're going to be taking your notes, and the key thing with that is write down things. Maybe the person is excited. You may ask them to slow down, to repeat what they said. Make sure you get the facts. One of the techniques I used when I was a police officer, I would ask the question back to the person. They would say something to me, and then I'd make sure I understood what they were saying, and I would say it back to them. Now we're going to look at the actual report itself. What I use in this course is a template, just a format, something that you can fill out. But every agency has something different. So what I did was I took this information right here and I'm breaking it down into parts. So the very first part 1, is going to be the introduction. That's everything that goes into the heading of your report. You're going to look at the complaint number, file class, location. You're going to have the complainant, victim, accused, suspect. All those kind of things are going to go into the introduction. One of the most important parts of part 1 in the introduction of the report is the information statement. There's basically 3 ways an officer or a person writing a report gets the report. So the first one is dispatch is going to send you, or somebody is going to send you to the location. Next, a witness is going to contact dispatch or contact you as an officer. And the final way is you could observe the information. So what I have written here is just a simple information statement, and I want you to have an information statement for all your reports. So if you look at this one, while on patrol, I was dispatched to the Greyhound bus station at 505 South Washington Avenue, Lansing, Michigan, to meet the complainant. Upon my arrival, I met with Joe Arnett Williams in the lobby of the bus station. So that's a strong information statement. What the information statement does is get your readers right in the mode to letting them know how you got the information, how you arrived on the scene. And then you can go right into your narrative. Your narrative is what I call the body of the report. And what you're going to notice in part 2 is this is where all your major headings go. Statement of victim, suspect's description, stolen or missing items, total value. There could be something like officer's actions. And some officer's actions in this particular case, you could contact dispatch, set up a perimeter if there's a suspect, last known direction, maybe ask for a K9. Again, this is law enforcement report. All right. You're going to see me put this in notes a lot about writing in first person active voice. And it's very important that you understand that. So when you're setting up a report, you can say, I met with the victim, or I met with Mrs. Williams, or I met with Mr. Williams, and I asked him or her what happened. Then the victim stated blah, 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 and so forth. Suspect description. You could ask the victim, and again, active voice, first person. I asked the victim, what did the perpetrator or accused subject look like? Question mark. The victim stated, and then give the description. Or you can write in the form I have here. The suspect's description, missing items, and so forth. This is probably one of the most simple reports you can write is a larceny report. This happens a lot. Basically, it's a theft. You have different types of larceny, so make sure you're familiar with, if you see a larceny report in this course, make sure you're familiar with the different types of larceny reports. Larceny from a person, larceny from a building, larceny from an auto. That's why this class requires you to have 101 or 130 as a prerequisite, because I expect you to come into the course with some sense of knowledge between the difference between a robbery and a larceny. I usually have people, I'll have a larceny report, but they'll say a robbery, and it's not a robbery. Okay, and then finally you have your disposition, which is part 3, your conclusion. 2 things in the disposition is how you kind of finalize your report. It's either going to be open or closed, and then the reason why. In this particular one, I advise Mrs. Williams that we will be conducting a search in the area and that I or the department will be contacting her with an update of the investigation. You can also put the fact that she could identify the suspect and is willing to prosecute. And then the status is open or closed pending further investigation. You can use the status, but you can also put the status as a part of the disposition. I usually tell students leave it open or closed and why. Just keep it simple. It's one of those things where you don't have to have all the answers, but you at least want to make it closed or open. And just kind of leave a reason why. Next, I want to look at proofreading. I'll use an acronym called READ. R-E-A-D. Read the report for content, evaluate for errors, analyze the report for clarity, determine if changes need to be made. Proofreading is very important, and it's one way you can do it. A lot of agencies will have a supervisor do that. So if you're a patrol officer, you may have a sergeant do that. But it's good to also have a class, not a classmate. In our class, we could do that, but a peer officer read over the report. If you got somebody you're working with, your partner, maybe they can read the report. So always proofread your report. And then here's the rules to remember. Write the narrative in chronological order. There are 3 steps to doing this, and I kind of gave you those: the introduction, the middle, and the conclusion. If you keep those things right, you won't have any problems with the format. Next, the reports must contain facts about specific events. A fact is something that occurred. A fact can be proven. And the opposite of that is an opinion. You don't want to write down opinions. And so a fact is whatever the reports to you is factual. An opinion is if you try to help guess, because you're going to have a lot of experience and you don't want to put your opinions in the report. One such incident is like I used one of the reports of a subject who was under the influence of alcohol. And instead of saying, oh, I think the subject is drunk, you want to say something like, the subject had red eyes, the subject smelled like alcohol, the subject's speech was slurring, so forth. If you do stuff like that and give factual information and not the opinion, well, I think the subject was drunk. You want to give facts, give description of what the person was doing. Next, report writers must be as clear as possible when conveying written message. Don't use jargons, don't use things that's not natural. Okay, and then this is what I have right here. Rule 4, especially all reports should concentrate on writing in a brief manner. Avoid wordiness. Don't try to prove people to how smart you are. Just short sentences, factual sentences will be enough. And again, proofread, proofread, proofread. Final checklist. This is something that you can always use just to kind of go over mentally. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. And then the grammar part, active voice, past tense, use of I and me, no jargons, no slang. Pay attention to the capitalization. You're going to get a lot of these things from your quiz in the book. What I don't want you to do in the course is write down the undersigned officer. Now, agency may have you do that, but in this course I want you to write in first person active voice. I asked the subject, I then did this, I then did that. That's active first person. Okay, spelling, pretty common. Again, write in chronological order. Write complete, concise, clear, and brief sentences. And then you have your introduction, your middle, and your conclusion. And finally, you have this punctuation. Again, you'll learn these rules as you're doing your quizzing. I didn't want to make this an English course, so that's why I don't spend a lot of time dealing with punctuation. You get that mainly from your book and knowing your grammar rules.